topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Churchill said, "Those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it." Kevin Hallinan believes that certainly applies to business. Welcome to Winning Business Radio, here at W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. And now, your host, Kevin Hallinan.
Thanks, everybody, for joining in today. I am Kevin Hallinan, and welcome back to Winning Business TV and Radio. We're on W4CY.com. We're streaming live on Talk4TV.com, and we're streaming live on Facebook, and that's at Winning Business Radio. And of course, we're available after the broadcast in podcast form wherever you get your podcast content. That's YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, again, anywhere you like to view. The mission of Winning Business Radio and TV, as regular viewers and listeners know, is to offer insights and advice to help people avoid the mistakes of others, right? To learn best practices, the how-tos, the what-tos, the what-not-tos, to be challenged and hopefully to be inspired by the successes of others. Who are those others? They're consultants, coaches, advisors, authors, founders and owners, entrepreneurs, people with expertise. But, as I say every week, virtually every successful person I've ever had a chance to talk to has had some form of failure in their lives and careers. So I, again, say it every week. While we all have to get our knees skinned once in a while, I'm driven to keep those scrapes from needing major surgery. Let's endeavor to learn from history so we don't repeat it. I've spent the better part of my career equipping businesses to grow, from solopreneurs to small and medium-sized companies, all the way up to the Fortune 50. I've seen some of those companies win, and I've seen some of them fail. I've had the opportunity to rub elbows with some of the highest performing people around and with some who probably should have found other jobs. In my own businesses, I've had lots of success, but of course, some failures too. And I like to think I've learned a lot from those experiences. So you'll hear from me, but mostly you're going to hear from our guests. And today, my guest is Jacob Zemon, a WSI-certified business strategy consultant with expertise in AI and modern digital marketing, as well as a published author. Here's his bio. Jacob Zemon, as I said, is a WSI-certified business strategy consultant and author of the recently published book, Is Your Healthcare Practice Stuck? Drawing on experience as a consultant at Accenture Strategy and in executive marketing roles at Publicis Group and Merck, he now helps health and wellness practices grow through strategic planning, AI, and modern digital marketing. His agency specializes in rehabilitation and movement-focused healthcare, including physical therapy, chiropractic, sports medicine, and orthopedic practices. In Is Your Healthcare Practice Stuck? He explains the common business and marketing mistakes that keep practices from growing, introduces a practical strategic framework, and shows owners how to apply today's marketing and AI tools to generate more patients and build a stronger business. He earned his BS in mathematics and statistics from the State University of New York at Albany, and his master's degree in statistics from the University of Virginia. Jacob lives in Philadelphia with his wife, Miriam, and their 4 children. Tomorrow, I think, right, also happens to be their 10th wedding anniversary. He grew up in West Nyack, New York. Jacob, welcome to Winning Business Radio and TV.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for the nice bio. Good to be here.
And is it tomorrow? Happy anniversary.
It is tomorrow. Yeah. My wonderful wife, Miriam, has agreed for me to do a networking event tomorrow as well. That's my little
that's support.
Yeah, that is support. My little anniversary gift to her is going to be talking about the book and sponsoring a table at a local networking event. Excellent. And I did clear it with the boss first. And
nice.
She was okay with that. But tomorrow is a special day for us for the book as well as our anniversary.
Good. Well, that's a wise man. So let me ask about Miriam. How did you guys meet? And then tell us a little bit about her.
Yeah, we met in Silver Spring, Maryland when I lived there. We just got introduced by a mutual friend. We had a friend who thought that we would like each other. And Miriam likes to say that when she first saw me, she was like, what are you talking about? I don't think I'm going to like him. But this friend kind of like set me up because
Yeah.
Miriam knew like that she was setting us up, but I didn't. So she like had like a brunch and invited us
Funny.
all over and a bunch of people. And I did kind of get drawn to her, and then she realized that she liked talking to me. And yeah, it kind of
Nice.
happened pretty quickly. So we met um, January around, yeah, right before Valentine's Day. So we met January of 2015. Yeah. And then we had like a first date around Valentine's Day. And
Nice.
about 9 months later, we got engaged. And about 9 months after that, we got married. So,
Wow.
so it was like a year and a half from meeting to realizing like, hey, and then just finally getting married on July 21st.
Love it. I love it. Tell us your kids' ages and first names, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so our oldest kid is Anne.
Anne?
She's 7 years old. So we have 4 kids,
Yep.
7 and under. So yeah, we're not busy at all.
No, not a bit. Not a bit.
So Anne is 7. She's our oldest. She's like almost become like a little mommy's helper now. She's yeah, she's very, very sharp and very sweet. And
Nice.
then we have Adir, our son, who is 6. They're almost 2 years apart. And then our other kids are just about 2 years apart as well. So Aaron, our other son, is 4. And then our baby, Zahava, we call her Zizi because her initials are Zizi.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute.
Zahava is 2 now.
That's great. Yeah, our kids are all about 2 years apart. Not by, it just seemed right. It wasn't planned, but it just seemed to work out right. So I understand you grew up in West Nyack, New York. Tell the audience what it's like to grow up there. It was like to grow up in West Nyack.
Yeah, so West Nyack is one of those suburbs right outside of New York City. So if people are familiar with like Rockland County, New York, Westchester, New York, right? So West Nyack's in Rockland County, near Nyack, near the river there. Big mall there. It's a very nice place, about a half-hour drive to the city. People in the city would always ask if I was from upstate New York, and I do not like to call Rockland County or Westchester upstate because New York is a very, very big state. But no, it was nice. Grew up there in like a ranch style house my whole life with my parents and older sister and brother. And yeah, I'm the youngest one. My sister's 6 years older. She was also kind of like, the leader of the kids and taking care of us, and I always appreciated that. And then I had a brother who was in between our ages who he needed like a lot of help at home. He had severe cerebral palsy. So we always had people home. Yeah, he couldn't like move by himself. So my mom said that, although I was the youngest, I'm kind of like the emotional middle child. Kevin, I think we've talked about that before, about middle child behavior and youngest child behavior. I kind of am a little bit more like a middle child in some ways, even though I'm the youngest, because my brother, who was the middle child, got kind of the attention of the youngest child.
Yeah. So I'm curious what your early interests were, say high school, because you chose math and statistics as a major. So you had to be into something like that. I don't know. It always seems
that seems
weird.
Who likes math?
I do. I do.
Yeah. So I guess I was a little bit of a nerd when I was a kid, right? So when I was in kindergarten, my mom found it funny that when we did like career day, when the little 5-year-olds would dress up like what they want to be when they grow up.
Cop, fireman.
Cop, fireman. Exactly. See, I didn't even say you knew what people like to be. Kids like to, those are fun. I dressed up like a lawyer. I went like a little tie and a little briefcase, and I was like, I want to be a lawyer when I grow up. Those feelings kind of evolved and changed a little bit, but I was always kind of like more drawn to that. I did enjoy math, and there was a part of me that liked how, when I was in undergrad, I focused on what was like pure math, so it didn't have any applications to it. It was like logic. So I liked logic when I was a kid, and math was like very logical. You had proofs, objective.
There's
Ironic,
gratification when you solve a problem, when you figure it out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There was a gratification. It seemed challenging,
Mm.
and maybe something that is a little bit ironic, I guess, is when I was in high school and then picking a major as a freshman in college. I actually didn't love writing essays. So yeah, I just recently wrote a book, and I do enjoy writing.
Yeah.
In the academic sense, though, in school, I loved knowing that, that there are subjects where there's like a right or wrong answer.
Mm.
That I could
Mm.
be, I could do something and get graded on that and get judged on that. It's like, oh, this is subjectively right or wrong. So it's kind of drawn to subjects more like that. Rather than something where someone is going to, grade my essays. People evolve, people change over time. That was over 20 years ago at that point.
Yeah.
At this point,
But then you got drawn to statistics because you get your master's right away, which I think makes a lot of sense. Why statistics? Did you know what you wanted to do at that point? Were you closer to knowing what you wanted to do?
yeah, I'd say I was a little bit closer. So undergrad, pure math. I graduated in 2010.
Mhm.
So I don't know if people recall, but around that time, 2008, 9, 10, it was not the best job market. So
Mm.
I was graduating with little experience outside of some summer internships. So I graduated with like a pure math degree with no application in a job market where people weren't hiring. So I
Mm.
was like, oh, well, I'm not going to go into that. Let me stay in school because, if you're in school, you're not unemployed, right?
That's right.
That's it.
That's right.
But I also wanted to do something that was more practical. So, as we evolved over time, like I enjoyed the pure math, I enjoyed doing that, but I had to start thinking like, okay, what am I actually going to do with this? Like, what's the point of this?
Mm.
So I felt like statistics was a natural extension of that, where I could use the math, but statistics was highly valuable. You use statistics for a lot of applications, and I feel like there's this whole process of like not knowing what you want to do and starting broad, and then kind of getting more and more focused. Where pure math was kind of like that. Probably going to college, not even knowing it was pure math, and then going into math, and then going into statistics after that. Like, okay, well, this is like one step closer to something that
Mm.
like could be useful.
Because you landed at first position looked like was Merkle, a big data marketing research company, right? Tell us
Yeah.
about the company and your role there.
Yeah. So Merkle was a marketing agency. I mean, still is a marketing
Yeah.
agency.
Yeah.
I was there a while ago, but yeah, that was my first full time job, and I was there for 4 years, which, in this day and age, starting out right after your master's, this is a
Mm.
pretty decent stint
Yeah.
at a place when people job hop a lot. So there's a lot of different clients. I didn't have a specialty. I started off as a marketing analyst. Building statistical models and doing presentations, but also getting kind of exposed to the business side, which I
Mhm.
realized I started to like the business side
Mm.
a little bit. So that was my first taste on the business side and the marketing side, really. So using analytics and statistics on the business end. So lots of different clients across retail and finance and every industry that you can imagine over those 4 years, and built up a lot of good relationships, right? So had a lot of close peers on that age looking to like develop those in office sort of skills that I think might be hard for people to develop,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
if we're not in person these days. So I did appreciate that, and learning a lot on the business side and building personal relationships, and meeting a lot of great people.
What would you say is your key lesson learned from that position?
I think the key lesson, I may have hinted at it a little bit, is just how important relationships are in
Mm.
business,
Mm.
and learning a lot about the soft skills in life. So in college, math, statistics, you learn a lot of hard skills. You learn a lot of objective things and technical
Mm.
things and logic. But in business, relationships are very important, and
Mm.
understanding people and treating people the right way. So, developing that and learning that was probably the biggest, evolution for me as a first job.
Yeah. And still being young at the time. That's good. All right. Then you became a research statistician at Virginia Tech. That's kind of the enemy, right, of UVA. Applied Research, Virginia Tech Applied Research Corp. Tell us about the organization and then your role.
Yeah, so that was it's like a nonprofit spinoff of the university. So the university gives seed money to these nonprofits. So we call it VT-ARC for short. So VT-ARC dealt with government contracts, and my role was more of on the statistician side as well. So after Merkel, I was looking for an opportunity to grow potentially. And I was at VT-ARC for a short period of time. And what I realized when I was there, it was on the nonprofit side and much smaller company side, was that wasn't probably the best move or the best fit for me, right? So you mentioned scraping knees and making, look, you make mistakes sometimes, and sometimes even, I don't want to say career moves are mistakes. There's things you learn there as well. But it was a very much more technical, statistical role. And then I started to realize for myself that that's something I want to grow out of.
Well, that's a good lesson.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think I learned a little bit about myself and the choices there, and realizing, I wanted the business side excited me. I wanted to get back into something that was actually pushing further into the business side rather than pushing further into the technical side.
All right, let's take our first commercial break right here. We'll be back in about 60 seconds with Jacob Zemon.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Bestien Wealth Management is family-owned for 2 generations. They take pride in thoughtful financial planning and wealth management with a family feel for your closely held family business. Bestien Wealth Management focuses on deep planning, integrating your business planning with personal. They will help put your money to work and your mind at ease. Go to bestienwealthmanagement.com for more information. Advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, a registered investment advisor. Join the Bestien family and let our family advise your family. That's bestienwealthmanagement.com for your complimentary initial consultation.
Have you ever dreamt of being on the radio? Well, now is your chance. Be a radio show guest on the #1 ranked internet radio station and promote you and your business for free. Yes, you heard it, free. Business advertising right here on W4CY.com. Call 561-506-4031 now to get booked on one of our shows. That's 561-506-4031. Get your free advertising now.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
We are back with Jacob Zemon. He is a WSI-certified business strategy consultant with expertise in AI and modern digital marketing. He's also the author of Is Your Healthcare Practice Stuck? And we will get back to that. You then went, after VT-ARC, Accenture. Great experience there, no doubt, as a digital strategy consultant. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that kind of grew out of my desire to get higher level on the business side. So it was more of a strategic role. And that's at the point where there was a big shift in my career path in industries. So we talked about how Merkel, there's all these different industries, all these different sort of clients. There wasn't really like a focus. I was hired at Accenture to focus on life sciences. So that's where I really started to get that experience. And I realized I really enjoyed it. So I picked Accenture because of the strategic role, more of a consulting role. This was in the before times, before COVID. So we were traveling to the client sites for those sort of roles. It was typically like a Monday through Thursday every week, staying at hotels and traveling to the client, and being kind of their advisor and consultant, which was, I think, a really great experience, both on the developing those more higher level strategic, consulting skills, as well as diving deeper into the life sciences and healthcare industry.
Key takeaway, would you say?
So there's a lot of takeaways from that. One is just how valuable clients are and how valuable their time is, especially when you're traveling to be there on site, and you know how much they value your time for being there and making the most out of every single hour you're there. I think that was a big priority for me to make sure that when I'm there and when I'm present, that the client's needs were coming first. So when I was at Merkle for my first job, there were some client presentations and client-facing sides of that role, but nothing like when you're a consultant at a place like Accenture. So there you're sitting with them every day, you get to know them, but you want to really show that value and keep bringing additional business to your firm and your business, right? By developing those relationships and giving everything that you got and giving the highest quality work for them.
And the clients were life science clients?
Mostly, yeah. So pharmaceutical clients. So those were my first pharmaceutical clients. Some big pharma names. We don't typically say on the consulting side who we work for. Like I worked for Merck later, but when you're on the consulting side, let's say I had some clients that were on a similar size, similar competitors to that, and that was my first step into those. And besides the skills that we mentioned of developing and really appreciating the client's time, I started to realize that healthcare and life sciences were truly important to me. In other industries that I worked in, sometimes I would have this complex of why am I doing this? And different people have different feelings towards different industries. For me, when I can see the results and the impact of bringing therapies or medicines to patients that can really change their lives and make them healthier, that made me feel a lot more proud and made me feel better about myself than maybe other industries where there's nothing wrong with them. But at the end of the day, if you get someone to buy one company's car over another, or get them to get an additional credit card, there's nothing wrong with that. I just didn't feel the connection and the personal satisfaction that I did when I started to see what we can do on the life sciences and healthcare side and make people healthier and live longer. And I do realize that pharmaceutical companies in particular don't have the best reputations among certain industries. So not everyone will feel that way.
Well, to that point, you ended up at Merck, associate director, and this wasn't on your business card. Digital marketing, channel engagement, analytics, strategy, and execution. That's a mouthful. Now, I get a sense as to what that is, but I need you to explain it.
That is a mouthful. And I think the only reason for that title is so it's easier to be found on job postings. That was not what we used. I'm pretty sure on my first call, the recruiter said the exact same thing that you said. It's a mouthful. So to make it simpler, what we actually called the role was called architect, right?
Okay,
so
makes sense. Yep.
So we were the architect. Essentially, at Merck, every major brand has someone who's an architect of the marketing plan. So we use the word architect because we would create blueprints, create the strategy. So there would be one marketing person who would own the actual strategy and execution of the marketing. So we would deal with the how we target different, whether it's either on the physician side or healthcare provider side, or on the patient side. So we did both. So we target on the physician side, we target on the patient side. We would decide who would get which sort of marketing materials and when they would get them, and what we'd want to test for those. So a big thing on the marketing side for those is the testing and seeing what works. So, if you have different emails that talk about, let's say, efficacy or dosing, does it matter for different individuals if they see efficacy first and then dosing, or the other way around, right? So that's something that we would test, and maybe different physicians, different types of physicians, whether they were more experienced or less experienced, or in one state or another, it might actually be more effective to do one versus the other, or send them. Some people would be better with email or some social media alerts or banner ads. So there's different things that would work for different individuals. So it was like kind of a constant test and learn process, and that I feel like is probably the most important part of the job of the architect that I had at Merck, was testing, learning, readjusting, because you can put together any blueprint, right? Any plan for when you want to roll out different marketing materials, but you never really know until you can test it.
And you're measuring that carefully.
Yes, measuring that very carefully. I can give one example of this is something that I'm actually pretty proud of. There's Merck had an insomnia medication, called Belsomra, and this is one where the year that I came in, let's just say the marketing budget was lower than the year before that, right? So we had to figure out with a lower budget, how do we still drive results from it? And the way that I did that was constantly testing and learning. And I kept like a PowerPoint deck of all the tests that we did, and see like what worked and what didn't work. Even when something was like we tested 2 different subject lines and they weren't significant, I would keep that and say, okay, we can learn from this, and this didn't matter. 12 months after I did that, we were able to show that we actually grew the scripts, right? The total scripts for that medication by 35% year over year. Wow. So I was proud that I was able to take a marketing budget for a brand that we know is very marketing sensitive. So like we can tell from our modeling, like when you market it, it does better. When you don't market it, it doesn't do as well. So we kind of expected, if you have a X less percent marketing budget, and that was a significant X less percent, that the total scripts would go down, and our team was able to drive it higher. And I can't take full credit for that, but I do think that the regular testing and adjusting that we did to kind of optimize every little thing that we can do was a big factor in that.
All right, and then I may be missing a company. What was it? Digitas Health next?
Yeah. So okay. Digitas Health, it's an agency under Publicis Group. So Publicis is like a huge.
Okay. Yep.
Publicis like owns a bunch of agencies, and Digitas Health is one of them. Yeah.
And this was an executive role, VP, Director, Data Analytics, more measuring, more using math, more reading data and making decisions.
Yeah, so it was really like a reporting team. Again, that was still on the pharma side, similar to Accenture, similar sorts of pharma companies as Merck, that level scale. But it was still kind of like an advisory role. That position I took because I wanted to start to lead my own teams.
And for those that don't know, that's a big New York agency, right?
Yes.
Digitas. Yeah.
Yep. So Digitas is a big agency in New York. There is the regular Digitas, and then there's Digitas Health, which does specifically the life sciences. So that's the one that I was in. But yeah, they share the same building in New York, and we had an office in Philadelphia as well. People throughout the country, but yeah, they're big in New York, and I think they're also in Boston as well.
They are. Yep. Because we talked about that. When did you decide you wanted to run an agency? And tell us what was behind the decision of joining WSI.
Yeah, actually, probably the biggest factor in my mindset shift was thinking about how AI was impacting marketing, impacting what we were doing, and trying to get ahead of the curve. So if you think about how fast AI has changed things, it's actually pretty crazy, right? So it was just about a year ago, a little bit less than a year ago, where I stepped aside from Digitas Health and started my own agency under the WSI brand name. And around that time, I believe there was maybe one or two undergraduate programs in the country that had like a bachelor's in anything AI related, right? So just to put in perspective how new it is, there was virtually no one in the workforce who had an education that would qualify them to do AI. But at the same time, it was rapidly developing. Everyone was using ChatGPT at that point. You hear about all these tools that are popping up and AI-generated websites and receptionists and how AI agents are going to take over everything. So it was a very, very rapidly developing thing that there wasn't so much education on. There wasn't so much, of formal job experience that people had, but you kind of needed to have it, right? So, so working under the WSI brand name was a decision I made, very heavily leaning into, okay, I think that AI is going to change marketing. I think AI is going to change businesses. So I would like to get as many resources as possible that don't really exist anywhere else.
Who are your target clients? Actually, you know what? Let me pause that question. Let's take our second commercial so we don't get interrupted again. We'll be back in about one more minute with Jacob Zemon.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Bestien Wealth Management is family-owned for 2 generations. They take pride in thoughtful financial planning and wealth management with a family feel for your closely held family business. Bestien Wealth Management focuses on deep planning, integrating your business planning with personal. They will help put your money to work and your mind at ease. Go to bestienwealthmanagement.com for more information. Advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, a registered investment advisor. Join the Bestien family and let our family advise your family. That's bestienwealthmanagement.com for your complimentary initial consultation.
The YP.com website is your local search engine. If you're looking for a good restaurant, it can help you find the right one nearby with ratings and reviews. Or if your car breaks down, you can use the YP app to find the closest repair shop. Or maybe you're just looking for something to do on a Friday night. Well, it has great local coupons for all sorts of things in your area. No matter what, when, or where, if you're looking for something, YP Local Search can help you find it. So go to YP.com or download the app to search local, find local, and save local.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
We're back with Jacob Zemon. He runs a digital marketing agency with a focus on effectiveness, results-driven, and AI. Who are your target clients?
Yeah, so let's start with the healthcare industry, right? So as I mentioned before, this evolution of getting sharper and sharper about understanding what you want. I realize that the healthcare industry is kind of where my passion is, and I'm kind of on a mission to help these healthcare practices grow. So that's the main area. And we're talking about the small businesses, right? Your health and wellness practices, clinics, usually in the $1 to $20 million yearly revenue sort of range. So people who are not my targets are people who like work in hospital networks, right? So that is a very much different beast. That's not what we do. But the brick and mortar, your local practices, some of them are being being included in larger hospital networks, and some of them are kind of staying independent. So those more independent ones, more specifically, especially in the rehabilitation or movement sort of medicine groups, your PTOTs, chiropractors, sports medicine, things in those areas are the best sort of fit for our experience and what we do.
And what are some of the problems that you're solving for them?
So there's quite a few. One common thing that I see happens with these local practices is they start off in one way, right? With on a small scale with getting referrals and word of mouth, and maybe getting some referrals, meaning from both from other doctors or from past patients. And they kind of grow a little bit, and they add a system here, they build a website there, but things really aren't connected in a certain way. And then as the practice owners get a little bit older and their business grows a little bit, a lot of them feel like they might stall out, or they don't know how to remove themselves from the daily practice. So the disconnected systems, the inconsistent leads for new patients, and then the owners feeling like they have to be the one providing a lot of the service as they're 20, 30 years into the practice, rather than being able to step away a little bit and more manage the business as they hire new healthcare practitioners.
So, which gets into the book, is your healthcare practice stuck? And I love the subtitle, The Care Blueprint That Health and Wellness Owners use to grow their practices by 25 to 50% without becoming a full-time marketer. A little bit about the structure. I understand it's launching now.
Yep.
Why did you decide to write the book?
So I decided to write the book, like I said, to kind of help these specific businesses get some clarity and grow. So a lot of the time they might feel that there's something missing, but they don't know the right steps to take. There's common problems that a lot of these healthcare practices kind of face, but a lot of them are also can be a little bit lonely there. They don't know what other people are experiencing. So it's a very difficult space in that way. So from everything that I've seen from working with them, I kind of start to hear a lot of the same issues come up again and again. But they're not realizing that other people are having these issues as well. So that first main step is bringing the clarity and understanding to what could be possible. And then on the other side of that is, as we discussed, marketing and AI is also developing rapidly. So trying to keep it modern and bring a modern perspective on all these new terminologies and these new strategies, and like, what do they need to focus on and what do they not need to focus on?
So you talk about the health and wellness marketing trap. What have you observed?
The health and wellness marketing trap. So that is that has a lot to do with these disconnected systems and relying on referrals. So and not knowing quite the best way to target and focus their marketing strategy. I'll give
not realizing where their patients are coming from, probably.
Yeah, not really where they're realizing where their patients are coming from, but also not even really realizing who should best own which part of the process. So with marketing, there's attracting leads, there's educating them, there's converting them, there's follow up. And one thing I've seen with these health and wellness practices is that a lot of the times these systems are kind of disconnected. So they might have built a website with one website developer a few years ago, and that person still kind of sits and owns it. Then they hire an agency to do their search engine optimization, their SEO. And then maybe they have an intern or office staff do some posts on social media. And then they get a CRM system, which is the relationship system where you do like emails and texts to patients and collect their data. They have that with someone else completely. So they end up, and this is more of like an organic way that they grow from, like I said, from small business, from referrals to adding things, to realizing that all these different aspects that should be connected and should be giving the same brand messaging are in like 4 or 5 different places. And I see a lot of websites where they have a blog section, but their blogs are not posted regularly, or something with their Facebook profiles, or they do some TikTok videos 3 years ago and they try to be funny. And then the TikTok videos just kind of stop. And, with one thing that we talk about is a big thing in healthcare, is big in all industries, but especially in healthcare, is trust and building that trust. So it's not just about generating attention or capturing that attention. It's also about the right attention and building trust. So some of these things I see that they do actually don't really benefit or help trust either. So when they're looking at social media, and when you're using social media content, there's a way to be interesting without being too overly humorous, right? So I think finding that balance for a healthcare practice is really important. We like to say that, for marketing, one of the big rules is don't be boring. So you don't want to be boring, but don't be boring doesn't mean that you have to be, you have to be overly humorous either, right?
TikTok dances.
Yeah. So something that's not boring that I talk about is showing behind the scenes videos of actual work in your office, in your practice, showing people like what it actually looks like, doing short informational videos or educational things. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that, So there are ways to elevate your professional brand and your practice brand while being interesting and collecting the right attention. Whereas that level of social media content might be difficult if it's on your office manager or your junior physician to kind of do it in their office hours, like, oh, just post something on Facebook, right? So there's a big disconnect from what I see between what a lot of practices are doing and what we see as what are considered best practices.
What's the CARE strategy blueprint? Clarify, attract, realize, and expand. Can you explain that?
Yep. So those are the 4 steps in the process that I like to take when I'm working with a healthcare business. So clarify means lead with strategy. Attract means attracting new patients. Realizing means you're realizing patients, converting them to be your actual patients. And then expanding is expanding your business and using the tools you need to finally grow. So these are in order for a reason. So we always lead with strategy first. So with clarity, we want to have clarity on what your business goals are, who your target clients are, what tech do you have, what teams do you have, what's your brand voice and positioning, right? And what's your 12-month plan, what's your 12-month goals? A lot of that stuff is really difficult to prioritize when you're trying to manage marketing on your own. So leading with strategy is super important. Attract is the next stage where we're we're generating the leads, generating the new prospects for patients for them. So there's lots of ways that you can do it. And I organize the book this way, but the way we organize the tactics in these strategies are maybe a little bit different than what other people do. So under Attract, we talk about SEO and GEO and things like that. We talk about social media and building trust. All these things are ways where you can kind of get people's attention and build trust and get them to know about your brand before they become patients. So on the realize part of the patient journey, that's where we talk about your website and your communication systems like email and text and things like that. So getting the attention first and then moving to your website, because typically people will hear about your brand, you get attention, you generate those leads, and then they come to your website. And then we want to have converting websites. And then when they convert, we want to make sure that you're communicating with them and, saying the right messages, automating messages on text and emails, and even really bringing back old patients and re-engaging old patients. So that's another thing that we do with the Realize. And then expand is the next step, where there's a couple of components of that. One is with the AI that we talked about. So using AI tools and AI systems to really make things more efficient, grow your practice, and using those test and learn strategies that I mentioned earlier, that I learned earlier in my career, can be really effective. So regularly testing and learning to really optimize things. So make things efficient with AI, optimize things, grow the practice, reevaluate your strategy. That's where you start to expand.
All right. One of my last questions is, why should healthcare professionals not be afraid of AI?
That's a good question. And I know the topic of AI can be controversial. What I will say is there's two extremes on the AI debate, which I don't think either are fully accurate. There's ones that think that AI is a magic bullet. It's a solution to everything.
Right.
It's the greatest thing that's ever happened. And then some people are scared of it, like you mentioned, are afraid of it, worried that's going to impact them. I think responsible understanding of AI tools and responsible AI use is going to be where you see the most successful businesses in the next 3 to 5 years. So what does that mean? That means understanding how AI tools can help them and where not to. So like we talked about, making things more efficient and finding a fit for your practice. You can use AI in a way where it saves your team time on emails and communications and phone calls. You can use it to make your marketing better. There are ways to not use AI. So there are ways where people create AI generated content, AI slop, that can be hurtful. There are ways that people can ask for advice for AI that's not backed by the science, and where it hallucinates, that can be hurtful. There are ways where the AI can take jobs. Those are things that people are afraid of.
Or compliance related, HIPAA.
Compliance related, HIPAA related. So those are all like legitimate concerns. But at the same time, having a strong strategy for AI and knowing how to use it correctly, and adopting it in a responsible, compliant, and efficient way that's good for your brand and good for your patients and everything like that. We hear some stories where the patients actually start to appreciate some of the AI use that they sort of see, because it makes their experience better as well.
All right, last question. Who in the viewing and listening audiences should reach out to you, and why?
Yeah, so if you run a healthcare practice, a local healthcare practice, and you feel like you want to get some direction on your strategy, if you are unsure about what your marketing is doing, or you realize that your marketing and operations are in many different places, and you want to kind of take a step back from managing everything yourself, that's a good place to start for, hey, let's have initial discussion. Always happy to meet people, have a call with them, learn about their business, and then we mutually decide, hey, does this kind of make sense to keep the conversation going or not?
And your email address is jacob.zemon, is that correct? At
Yes.
wsiworld.com. And the URL is?
So it's just my last name group. So ZEMON group.wsiworld.com.
Perfect. Jacob, thank you for being here. I know you're busy. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you, Kevin. This was lovely. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. And thanks everybody for watching and listening. This is a show about business, both successes and challenges. And if you've got concerns, about the sales effectiveness of your company, if you've got a team, whether it's even you or larger than you, and you're in Massachusetts or you were referred by one of our clients and you'd want to learn more about implementing Sandler in your business, contact me. My website is go.sandler.com/KJH or email me at kevin.hallinan@sandler.com. Otherwise, visit sandler.com and find a training center that serves your area. We develop sales teams and individuals into high achievers and sales leaders into true coaches and mentors. Listen, we're not right for everybody, but hey, maybe we should have a conversation. Thank you to producer and engineer Juan for another job well done. Thank you, Juan. Be sure to join us next Monday, July 27th at 4 p.m. Eastern, when we'll have another great conversation. Until then, this is Kevin Hallinan.
You've been listening to Winning Business Radio with your host, Kevin Hallinan. If you missed any part of this episode, the podcast is available on Talk4 Podcasting and iHeartRadio. For more information and questions, go to winningbusinessradio.com or check us out on social media. Tune in again next week and every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time to listen live to Winning Business Radio on W4CY Radio, W4CY.com. Until then, let's succeed where others have failed and win in business with Kevin Hallinan and Winning Business Radio.